good afternoon. Welcome to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. On today's show, the Memphis branch of the NAACP Executive Director, Madeleine Taylor, will be my guest in the first half hour. Madeleine and I are going to talk about a number of things, but what's really pressing here in Tennessee is Insure Tennessee. And I'm going to ask her, what is the NAACP's position on Insure Tennessee? So we'll have dialogue about that in the first half hour. In the second half hour of the show, Ashley Coffield, the CEO of Planned Parenthood of the greater MidSouth region, is going to be our guest. And this weekend, they're going to start with the Memphis Monologue. It's a fundraiser to benefit Planned Parenthood as well as the Vagina Monologues later in the month. So we're going to talk about that and the work that's going on with Planned Parenthood. And I guess what's really exciting about the Memphis Monologue is yours truly is going to be presenting as a part of this year's show. So we'll be talking about that on Dialogue with Deidre. You're going to want to stay tuned. You're watching the M1 Network. I'm Deidre Malone, and we'll be back in a moment.
Hello, friends. I'm concerned about the health of our African American community. According to the American Heart Association, our rates of high blood pressure in the U.S. are among the highest in the world. And diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and smoking are causing us to suffer and die from stroke at alarming rates. In 3 John 2, the Bible says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." Visit powertoendstroke.org and become empowered to take care of your health. You are the power to end stroke.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed all that.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Wow, Telebrown, your drugstore, and your drugstore. Hey, we everyone's drugstore. And we're located at 3333 East Chevy Drive, 794-3690. All medical plans. We support supported living, assisted living. We do it all. And guess what? We even have a $4 plan. Hey, call and ask Dr. Brown about that. I gotta go because she's coming with those boots.
The Carter Malone Group is a full-service public relations agency. Celebrating 10 years of being in business, the Carter Malone Group is located in Midtown Memphis and represents clients across the country. No matter what size your business, if you are interested in promoting your product or service and increasing your market share, contact the firm that can help you meet your goals. The Carter Malone Group. Call 901-278-0881 today.
And now, let's take some questions from the public.
Mr. Chairman, why do we keep cutting back on education?
Governor, you want to take that question?
Mr. Chairman, let's give this one to the Senate Majority Leader.
Since this matter was taken up in AB 3712, I think it best if I defer to the Assembly Majority Leader.
Actually, pursuant to Department of Education statutes, the State Secretary of Education would be more qualified to answer. Mr. Secretary.
My legal team has advised me not to comment at this time, so I'll humbly refer to our State Superintendent of Schools.
I'll pass. Definitely pass. Okay, County Superintendent.
Well, young lady, it's just too complicated.
Can you tell me who's responsible for my education?
That is a good question. Governor?
Repeat the question, please.
I don't see why I can't get an answer from
You're
my...
asking a lot of difficult questions.
Oh, she sure is.
Who are you?
Well, I'm the governor.
What is this?
Your 2 minutes are up.
Stop the circus. Contact your legislators at thisbudgetblows.com.
Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. Happy Black History Month. I've not seen you since we began the month of February, so I just want to say happy Black History Month to you. And as a part of Black History Month, we're going to be talking about things that are important to African Americans. We're going to be talking about Black history because it's so important for us to remember our history. The first half hour of this show, our guest is Madeleine Taylor, who's the Executive Director of the Memphis branch of the NAACP, and we love to talk about the NAACP because this organization for years has been a part of changing history for African Americans. Madeleine Taylor, welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre.
Thank you, Deidre. I'm glad to be here. We always enjoy it, and this is the month that we can talk about our history.
Exactly.
And we've got a proud history, and we want to say that.
Very proud. And before we start about talking about Black history, let's talk about something that is so important to the state of Tennessee. And I know the NAACP, specifically the Memphis branch, has a position on Insure Tennessee. I was up on the Hill yesterday, Madeleine, for the special session that Governor Haslam convened. And it's really tense in Nashville. What's the position of the NAACP on Insure?
The NAACP has supported affordable care across the country. When Governor Haslam and the state legislature elected not to support affordable care within the state of Tennessee, we lost millions and billions of dollars. We lost access to health care for low-income people. For the last 2 years, we've lost that money. We can never regain it. But thank goodness the governor has come up with a plan where he can bring these low-income people into access for health care. The dangers that we see for low-income people are the closing of our rural hospitals.
Exactly.
And a prime example is the day the Crittenden County Hospital over in Arkansas just closed, put out a number of employees, patients that were being seen in the hospital all of a sudden moved out. And where could those patients go? They came to Memphis.
Exactly, to the Regional One Health.
And many of them are low pay or no pay, so that the regional health care in Memphis still has to serve those patients with no estimate of when they might get reimbursement. This comes out of our pockets in the state of Tennessee. And we cannot afford for health care, emergency health care, for low-income people not to be provided. And this is important. Our president, Keith Norman, led a caravan of buses to Nashville yesterday.
I saw him there working hard on behalf of Shelby County.
And there are people of all colors standing up for themselves to get access to health care in the state of Tennessee. And this is what we're about. It affects all of us because these are our tax dollars paid in to the federal government that we want to get back to cover the health care in the state of Tennessee, and we're not getting them back until they do something.
One of the stats that they gave us on yesterday, Madeleine, was that without Insure Tennessee, about $7.8 billion, I didn't say million,
billion.
I said $1 billion in Medicaid taxes paid by Tennesseans will go to provide care for residents in California, Minnesota, New York, and other cities. So, as you mentioned, for the last 2 years, those tax dollars that we've been paying into the federal government that could have been coming back to the state of Tennessee to provide health care for our residents for the last 2 years have been going to other states. So we have an opportunity now to take care of our own.
That's right.
With Insure Tennessee.
That's right. And it may not be the perfect plan, but it is our opportunity to take care of people who do not have sufficient income to purchase insurance. Affordable care plans, which are being signed up now, deadline's February 15th, but those apply for people who are working or have some source of income. What about those others who are disabled or unable to work, and they need access to health care? Our seniors, our children, our single mothers need access to health care.
And I can tell you that there is a percentage, about 200,000 people that are working Tennesseans, but they don't meet the criteria for TennCare, and they can't afford insurance at this time. Or either they work for a company that doesn't offer it or won't pay, a portion of the premium. And so these are the individuals that we can help with Insure Tennessee. And then some of our veterans, they talk about that,
And the thing about it is, in today's environment, if you call for an appointment for medical care, what's the first question they ask?
Do you have insurance?
Who is your insurance
Exactly.
carrier? That's right. They don't ask you your name. They're going to ask you your social security number. But who is your insurer? Because if you cannot prove that you're able to pay for the service, you will not access it. And that's what healthcare is, the state of healthcare in this country today.
You also mentioned the rural hospitals, and you mentioned Crittenden County. I was in Nashville yesterday, and you look at the name tags of the executives and the employees that were up there lobbying for Insure Tennessee, and a lot of them were from hospitals in the rural parts of the state, because for them, if those hospitals close, then where are their residents going to go? I mean, they're going to either try and come to Memphis or Nashville or Chattanooga or Knoxville, and people can lose their lives just trying to get there.
That's right.
So it is, I'm really trying to understand the conservative argument on this, Madeleine. I was talking to a representative from Shelby County who happens to be a Republican, and his comment to me yesterday was, there are those of us who feel strongly that we do want to help our constituents when it comes to providing some level of insurance. But I have to go home on Fridays, and in my district, I have people saying to me, you better not support Obamacare. So it's, to me, it's like, and he even said to me, he said, when I say to them, well, can I explain to you what the Insure Tennessee plan is, they tell him no. They don't want to hear it. They just feel like it's Obamacare. And I don't like to use that term because I know it was created as a negative term. The Affordable Care Act is what I normally call it, but because I was, I'm repeating what a conservative said to me, it's just unfortunate. Another thing he said was that he felt like, and I asked him directly, I said, do you think this is going to pass? He said, probably not in the state that it's written. He felt like the governor did not come to his party and say, what else do you think it should be in it? And so then my question directly to him was, well, do you think that if it doesn't pass in this form, that maybe you can work with the governor and come back with something that, you know, the conservatives can swallow, be comfortable with? And he said yes. So, you know, I'm not sure what's going to happen with this, but I can tell you, Madeleine, you know, the Memphis branch of the NAACP has been advocating for this for a while, and I know we need to get our people on the phone.
Yes. And it's a political issue.
It is.
Very political. What you're describing has to do with politics more so than the desire to care for sick people.
Right.
And the way you deal with politics is with writing and with speaking. That's why we took busloads of people to Nashville to stand up and say, yes, we want Insure Tennessee. If you weren't able to go, you've got email and you've got your phone. And call the legislators. Don't just call the ones that represent your area.
That's
call
right.
the other legislators and let them know. You've got to blow up their phones and blow up their emails, because those are the types of things that they respond to. And the other piece is you got to be voting.
That's right.
The one thing that keeps them in Nashville is your vote. If you're not voting, then they have no obligation to respond to your questions or your needs. And this is the most important thing that we're going to be looking at within the NAACP this year, is working toward getting our people to the polls.
That's so important.
It's most important. We're going to start from the ground, and you'll say, well, you've done this before. I know, but we got to do it every year. We're going to start voter registration, voter education. We've got to teach the young people what it means to vote, why it's important to them, how these things impact their lives on a day-to-day basis. What happens in the state legislature impacts them every day of the week, and they've got to understand that connection so that when they vote, this is what happens for them.
Because they don't understand it. I don't think that it connects with our young people.
It doesn't.
That, you know, when you're voting for a state representative or a state senator, that it impacts, you know, your education funding. It impacts the roads that you drive on. It impacts health care. I guess they might see this now, and when you're young, sometimes you don't think
and
about it.
economic development, businesses coming into your community.
It does.
We can have, I mentioned it at a group yesterday, we can have committees on economic development, health care, education, any number of things, but unless we do voter empowerment,
that's right,
none of those things will work. And we've got city elections this year, and we're going to use that to get ready. And we're always getting ready, and we vote every year. Last year we had county elections, this year city elections, and next year we'll have national federal elections for the president. But we will vote and get ready to vote every year. That's what's important.
And the NAACP does that so well. So often, you know, we hear, well, what is the NAACP doing? I can tell you, Madeleine Taylor is one of the hardest working women I know, and her executive committee, you know, has her back 110%, but you are always out there in the community and lifting up our young people. I mean, there's an event that's going on February 14th. Do you want to mention that? I mean, you know, with AXO and the Youth Council, there's always something going on with the NAACP.
You know, we've seen a lot of youth violence in this community recently, and thank goodness, organizations throughout the city government, the county government, the churches, and just individuals have come together to bring our young people to the forefront and say, hey, okay, let's talk about this. Why are we out here shooting and killing each other and thinking nothing of it? Don't you realize that death is final?
Right.
And in that process, though, we've got to give them something to work with and to think about.
That's right.
This month, as part of Black History Month, our young people have joined with the Friends for Life to address one of the most debilitating diseases in our community, in Memphis and within the black community, which is AIDS and HIV.
That's true.
And unless we talk about it and understand it, we won't know about it until it hits us.
That's right.
Whether we like it or not, our young people are sexually active, and they've got to know what that means if they're sexually active. On February 14th at our regular Youth Council meeting, we will have a special session with Friends for Life, and I'll share this. I don't know whether we can pick it up on the camera or not, but they're going to present games, trivia, prizes, and everything in order to bring young people in. Of the NAACP. From Memphis, we also have Bishop William Graves, who's on the national board of the NAACP. Mrs. Maxine Smith was also there until her death, and Reverend Keith Norman is on the Special Contribution Fund representing Memphis. We have a number of representatives from this community on the national board. Within the state of Tennessee, our state president, Gloria Sweetlove, who resides in Brownsville, Tennessee, is also on the national board. And she's taken that seat, and she's been very active in support of the southeastern states of the NAACP. When I talk to young people, especially in the elementary grades, and they ask what is the NAACP, I say it's the Black People's Organization, and it is. And many other organizations have come and gone, but we've been here. This year, February 12th, we will celebrate 105 years of the national NAACP. But we're also beginning to celebrate 98 years of the Memphis branch of the NAACP.
That is amazing.
And no, we haven't been in the same building or at the same office for all of those 98 years, but we have been a working organization, working in this community to address social justice and equality for all people in this community.
So I just want to say as we wrap up that there's an opportunity. If you don't think that the NAACP is needed today, you are sorely wrong. I know for a fact that Madeleine receives calls all day long for people who have challenges at work or feel like they've been discriminated against, and that office phone number is ringing off the hook. The NAACP is needed today, so if you are not a member, you actually need to join and help us advance the cause. Madeleine, last few words, and you know we're going to always have you come back. Last few words on this show?
Well, one thing that we're getting ready for is our Freedom Fund Gala, which is our annual fundraiser, which supports the activities of this branch. We are not a United Way agency. We do not receive government funds from the city, the federal, or the state government. We have to raise our funds from the community which we serve. And the Freedom Fund Gala is that opportunity. Our national president, Dr. Cornell William Brooks, will be our speaker this year. He's brand new.
I think we have his picture somewhere, Eddie.
He was elected last year, and he was presented at the National Convention in Las Vegas. And Memphis is going to be one of his first stops because we're one of his largest branches.
Exactly.
And he values what's coming out of Memphis. We lead the country in membership support, and that membership support says that people are willing to put their money with the NAACP because we're doing something that they endorse and believe in, and that's why it's important that we share that information.
Well, if you need any additional information on the event that's coming up, that Mr. Brooks is going to be our guest speaker.
Yes.
And Madeleine, what number can they call?
They can reach us at the NAACP.
That's your camera right there.
At, thank you, 901-521-1343. And you may also check us on our website, naacpmemphis.org.
Madeleine, thank you so much for being on Dialogue with Deidre. You know we will have you come back relatively soon to talk about the event in greater detail.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate this opportunity.
You're watching Dialogue with Deidre. When we come back, Ashley Coffield, with the CEO of Planned Parenthood, will be in the studio. She's going to be talking about the Memphis monologues and the vagina monologues. You're watching Dialogue with Deidre. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you.
Hello, friends. I'm concerned about the health of our African American community. According to the American Heart Association, our rates of high blood pressure in the U.S. are among the highest in the world. And diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and smoking are causing us to suffer and die from stroke at alarming rates. In 3 John 2, the Bible says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." Visit powertoendstroke.org and become empowered to take care of your health. You are the power to end stroke.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Wow, Teller Brown is your drugstore, and your drugstore. Hey, we everyone's drugstore. And we're located at 3333 East Chevy Drive, 794-3690. All medical plans. We support supported living, assisted living. We do it all. And guess what? We even have a $4 plan. Hey, call and ask Dr. Brown about that. I gotta go because she's coming with those boots.
The Carter Malone Group is a full-service public relations agency. Celebrating 10 years of being in business, the Carter Malone Group is located in Midtown Memphis and represents clients across the country. No matter what size your business, if you are interested in promoting your product or service and increasing your market share, contact the firm that can help you meet your goals. The Carter Malone Group. Call 901-278-0881 today.
And now let's take some questions from the public.
Mr. Chairman, why do we keep cutting back on education?
Governor, you want to take that question?
Mr. Chairman, let's give this one to the Senate Majority Leader.
Since this matter was taken up in AB 3712, I think it best if I defer to the Assembly Majority Leader.
Actually, pursuant to Department of Education statutes, the State Secretary of Education would be more qualified to answer. Mr. Secretary.
My legal team has advised me not to comment at this time, so I'll humbly refer to our State Superintendent of Schools.
Pass. Definitely pass. Okay, County Superintendent.
Well, young lady, it's just too complicated.
Can you tell me who's responsible for my education?
That is a good question. Governor?
Repeat the question, please.
I don't see why I can't get an answer from
You're asking a lot of difficult questions.
Oh, she sure is.
Who are you?
Well, I'm the governor.
What is this?
Your 2 minutes are up.
Stop the circus. Contact your legislators at thisbudgetblows.com.
Watching me here. This is the iPad, and I'm talking to you on cable. This is our feed. You see, I just turned the iPad around on the screen. This is our feed that we can do this on the cell phone too. So now, look at what I'm showing you. I'm showing you the future. You can watch us on the iPad. You can watch us on the smartphone. Same broadcast. You're watching us right now. Oh, you saw me put on the hat here. Now you see me put on the hat here. So there's a slight delay. But the bottom line is you're able to watch the show.
table and online, and I forgot my mic. Let me make sure that the ladies' mics are on. We can do that. So again, this is Dialogue with Deidre. And I'm Deidre Malone, and I mentioned that Ashley Coffield was going to be on the show, CEO of Planned Parenthood for the greater Memphis area. And we also have a guest, Dixie Fletcher, who's going to talk to us about the V monologue. But ladies, welcome to Dialogue with Deidre.
Thank you, Deidre.
So glad you both could be here.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm really excited, Ashley, because I'm going to be a part of the Memphis monologue.
Yes. Deidre, I can't wait to hear your monologue.
I need to go ahead and write it. Right. Soon, because the event is Saturday.
It's Saturday night.
So talk to our audience about the Memphis monologue first.
Okay. Well, this is V-Day time.
Yes,
and
V-Day.
V-Day, and it's a national organization. It's a nonprofit, and it promotes awareness about violence against women and girls, both in the United States and around the world. And in Memphis, we have all volunteers who participate in V-Day. And one of the things that volunteers in Memphis put on are the Memphis monologues. And it takes the vagina monologues that a lot of people are really familiar with, and that Dixie's going to talk about today.
I love it.
And it makes it specific to Memphis. It's women in Memphis telling their stories about the female experience from their perspective.
And we definitely have one.
Right. You do. And it's such a wonderful event. It's produced and directed by Elizabeth K. Wine. She's on our board of directors at Planned Parenthood, but all the proceeds from the event go to benefit Planned Parenthood. But it's such a life-affirming event. It's so honest and real, and the women who participate, like you, Deidre, have had extraordinary lives and have extraordinary stories to tell.
And what was so exciting for me in terms of participating was Elizabeth said, you just have to be honest and tell a true story about yourself.
Right.
And so I'm so looking forward to that, because I think, as both of you know, being an entrepreneur and then just running for office, that in itself is a story.
Right. Especially in Memphis.
Exactly, in Memphis. So Dixie, I know you've been a volunteer for a while.
Right.
Talk to me about the vagina
Well, I was involved in the vagina monologues years ago, just in the background.
Okay.
Just raising funds, doing auction, things like that. And then about 3 years ago, I actually agreed to be in the show, which was really fun. I mean, we don't have to be real actresses, okay? But it is, and it's great stories, because a lot of those original stories were back from, during the women's movement back in the 70s. And so that's been going on for a while. And all of those stories I recognize because I lived through the women's movement, okay? This year, we also, in addition to those shows, which are going to be on like Friday night and Saturday matinee.
Okay.
On Thursday night, we're actually having a new and original show. In 2006, Eve Ensler, who created the Vagina Monologues, also was at a V-Day event to stop the violence against women. And she was interviewing authors, and she asked them to submit their own stories. Now, this was a group of men and women, and they thought they would get 10 or 20 people, and they got hundreds.
Wonderful.
So trying to decide which ones to do. So there will be at least 3 men in our cast of that production, not of the Vagina Monologues, but of this memory, a monologue, a rant, and a prayer is the name of it.
I love it.
And it's, so they're telling their stories that have to do with women and have to do with their life experiences, possibly their mother, at least 1 or 2. And so, and how that affected them as men, so those are going to be really interesting stories too. So if people have already seen the Vagina Monologues, they might want to go to that one. If you haven't ever been before, I suggest that you do the Vagina Monologues, because it at least has a little bit of humor in it. This often is really heavy.
But the authors of the monologues are names that people would recognize.
Right.
Maya Angelou, Edward Albee, Dave Eggers, authors that people love, wrote these monologues.
Right. So it'll be really interesting. They're really powerful.
Well, the first time I ever heard about the Vagina Monologues was because Marlo Thomas participated. And so with my connection with St. Jude, and and I thought, oh, this should be interesting, but I've never seen one.
You haven't?
So this will be my first experience.
Right.
So I'm excited about it.
Well, if you have time, you should try to come on both.
I will do that. I
Just to
definitely will
see
do
the
that.
difference between the two shows.
And so, do you normally sell out?
They're full. The Circuit Playhouse is full for most performances. The new production, I'm going to get the name wrong. A memory of
a monologue, a rant, and a prayer.
Okay. That one is on Thursday, February the 12th at 7 p.m.
Okay.
And then the Vagina Monologues are on Friday, February 13th at 7 p.m. and on a Saturday matinee at 2 p.m.
Right.
And doors open an hour before each production.
Right.
Because we have raffle tickets to sell. We have information to share about violence against women, about Planned Parenthood. It's a great time.
You can get drinks.
You can get a cocktail.
So that's
important. You have a cocktail and meet your friends, and so it's a really fun evening. I would encourage people to go ahead and get your tickets, because when it gets closer to the event, people in Memphis are last minute.
They're
Deidre.
very last minute. I know. I'm one.
I am too, and I think, oh, it'll be okay. Well, it may or may not. So go ahead and go to our website and get your tickets. It's a great Valentine's gift for a partner or a friend.
And then, Ashley, they can also call, 901-725-3008 for ticket information?
For ticket information. Grace will take your call, and she's selling tickets. That's at Planned Parenthood, or go to our website at ppgmr.org.
Okay. So what has Planned Parenthood been doing this month? What else do you have going on this month?
Well, we are watching the General Assembly, the Tennessee General Assembly right now.
Yes.
We're very concerned, as you are, Deidre, about Insure Tennessee.
Yes.
And we hope that the legislators listen to the governor. I think the governor's plan is sound, and we have perhaps as many as 100,000 people in Shelby County who would benefit from Insure Tennessee, the expansion of coverage in Tennessee that we could take advantage of. So we're watching that, but we expect abortion to be an issue this spring, and so we're bringing our supporters together on February the 26th.
Good.
For a meet and tweet at the Lost Pizza Company
I love it.
at 6:30 p.m. We're going to tweet our legislators. We're going to email them. We're going to call them and let them know that we're watching and paying attention. And we're going to follow that up with our Planned Parenthood Lobby Day, which is March 10th.
Okay.
In Nashville. And please come and ride the bus. We're leaving from Planned Parenthood at 2430 Poplar at 7 a.m. And we'll have you back home by 7 p.m. It'll be a fun day. We're going to paint the hill pink.
Right.
We'll give you a pink I Support Planned Parenthood t-shirt. And we'll give you lunch, and we'll train you about how to talk to your elected officials about the issues that are of concern to you and to women and families.
You know, Ashley, I think what's so important about what you're doing, and specifically the Day on the Hill, is that these legislators will listen. I mean, you just have to bombard them with, you need to do the right thing by women. And because this is not, a Democrat or Republican issue.
No, absolutely
This is an issue about women and their opportunity to have choice when it comes to decisions that they have to make about themselves. So I encourage all women and men who are of like mind to participate. And I hope that they join you on the Hill.
Thank you. I do
What
too.
else do you have going on? You guys are busy.
We do. Well, Condom Week is coming up this month.
Yes.
That's it. It always falls on Valentine's Day and is the week following that. And we have a program in Memphis called Free Condoms Memphis. We've had it in place for about 2 years now. In the past year, in 2014, we gave away 300,000 free condoms in Shelby County through 60 partner organizations. They're barbershops, nail salons, nightclubs, community centers, churches participate, and anybody can go into any of these locations and get as many condoms as they'd like, free of charge.
That's wonderful.
And you can go to our website, freecondomsmemphis.org. freecondomsmemphis.com will also get you there. And you can find a location, just type in your address and your zip code, and it will show you the locations that are close to you in case transportation is an issue.
Well, let me just say, ladies, there's no excuse. I mean, you can pick some up yourself.
That's right.
Guys, there's no excuse. They're free.
They're free, and we offer lots of different brands, lots of different types. So,
if you're picky, you have choices.
And we don't, and they're nice condoms. They're not cheap condoms. They're nice condoms. We're offering the public things that you would buy in the store, but we know that not every store offers condoms.
Right.
We know that
And people are embarrassed sometimes.
people are embarrassed to
go
buy
into a
them.
store.
Our partners are not asking any questions when you come in to get the condoms, and they know as a Free Condoms Memphis partner to let folks get as many as they'd like to have.
Look, guys, you go to the barbershop anyway. Your barber can just say, hey, dude, there's some over in the corner. Ladies, you go to the hair salon anyway.
That's right.
Just, ask Darcel, I need to make sure that you have some, because at the beauty shop, people can pick them up, okay?
And
so
you can
it's a wonderful thing.
It is, and you can go to our website and become a Free Condoms Memphis partner. You can let us know that
I
you
love
want
it.
to have Free Condoms Memphis at your business or your church or what have you, and we're happy to make you a Free Condoms Memphis partner.
Oh, I'm excited about this. Dixie, before we wrap up, I want you to tell people why you enjoy doing what you do for Planned Parenthood in terms of volunteering for the monologues.
Right. Well, I just think it's really important. It's fun, and we have sort of a feeling of camaraderie among the cast, and I just think it's a really important organization to support. I think Planned Parenthood really needs our support, and so for all of those reasons,
that's wonderful.
I just enjoy it. So
that's a good thing.
Thank you for what you do, Dixie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ashley, before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, February the 15th is the end of the enrollment period for affordable health insurance. You can come to Planned Parenthood, and we have a certified application counselor who's there every day, happy to help you look at your options on the marketplace, where you can look at different health insurance options and see if you can find one that's right for you and that you may be able to afford. We're happy to have that conversation with you and help you, but the deadline is February the 15th.
Let me just say,
so give us a call.
Planned Parenthood has a lot going on to
We
offer
do.
citizens, so I'm hoping that our viewers will take advantage of it. I
Thank
really
you.
do.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, again for being on Dialogue with Deidre. Sorry about the mic at the opening of the show, but
That's fine.
it happens, right? And Dixie, we're going to have you come back.
Yes, and
you both always welcome.
Thank you, Deidre.
So you're watching Dialogue with Deidre. If you have any comments about today's show, you know where to post them on the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page. And what we will do is make sure that we post the information about all of the activities that Planned Parenthood has going on for the month of February. So if you've missed anything on today's show, go to Dialogue with Deidre's Facebook page, and by the end of the day, it'll be posted on our Facebook page. We so appreciate you watching, and you know where we'll be every Monday and Wednesday at noon right here on Dialogue with Deidre. We'll see you next time.